Picture. All right, raise of hands. How many people are in the industry already? Cool. Hello, industry folks. You should see that hand. No pressure, but maybe they might answer your question. How many people are in school right now? Cool. Hello, school. I know there's a whole school in the back there, so hello, y'all. I know y'all are here. Hey. How many people are indie? Any indies? I see some indies. Hello. And then, there we go.
Starting indie counts if you're just starting out. So.
Yeah. And then how many people just saw the talk on Guidebook and was like, this sounds cool. Nice. Awesome. I also saw the talk on Guidebook and I was like, this is cool. I'm not on the Brian was very
He's not on the Guidebook, but he was kind of added last minute, so
yeah.
This is Kirk, by the way.
Oh, yeah, do you want to do an intro?
Yeah, we should probably do intros.
Yeah.
We could probably start, right?
Yeah, what time is it?
Close enough, right?
I'll do like one more minute. Just
one more minute?
Yeah, I'll do one more. It's 11:59, so give him good.
Time.
But yeah, I'm hi everyone. I'm Kirk. I'm a senior community manager at Unity. So the game engine company, if people don't know about that, we make a real-time 3D software that helps you create your games. So if you played like Shovel Knight, Magic Arena, Genshin Impact, Marvel Snap, my company makes that software. And then previously, I was an indie developer for many years. I was based out of New York City. I'm now in North Carolina. I'm co-founder of a collective called Triangle Interactive Arts. So we support over 600 developers in the RTP area in North Carolina. And we have a co-working space. People work on their games there. We run events. We do an annual showcase to like uplift our community. And yeah, just I love This is my 11th MAGFest, and I love MAGFest. So yeah.
I unfortunately do not have any slides of him.
Oh, yeah.
Of his information, so just having him fill it in that way.
Yeah.
I have a little slides of myself, unfortunately, but my name is Brian Arndt. I am a senior marketing artist. I work for a company called Big Huge Games right now. As you can see, I have a lot of ADHD side jobs. I do a lot of different things, including indie games on the side as well.
This is just a classic game developer problem.
Yes.
Or not problem, you know?
Yeah, I'm a little all over the board, but it keeps me busy, so... these are some of the games I've worked on. I've worked on a lot of MMOs in the past.
This is very impressive.
Yeah, this is just some of them. I honestly can't remember all of them. So it's been about 17 years in the game industry now. So 17.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm 15 here.
15.
But not as many cool AAA games. Mine was like, I did LARPs in New York City. I have a DS game on the eStore that I made with my first studio. I made a game for the coach of the New York Yankees at one point. I'm a weird guy, so you'll see two perspectives in this talk. One from like traditional AAA, and one from indie. So yeah. Yeah,
it'll spread us out pretty good, which is good because I've definitely done a lot of more bigger AAA studios in the past, and I also do a little bit of work in compositing and stuff like that. I've worked on a bunch of shows.
So cool. NCIS.
I always include this because it always comes up as a question. So there's been a lot of different TV shows I've worked on, like Red vs. Blue and Ruby for Rooster Teeth and stuff like that.
I was a location scout in Hollywood for a second for a lot of, and I played basketball with Sarah Silverman in the summers. That's it. Sorry. That's it.
Yeah. But let's see here. So we'll just get started on it.
Yeah, let's jump in.
This is the first slide I put in here, which was ways to get into the game industry, because that's the number one question everyone asks is like, how do you get into the game industry? Because it's always known as a very hard industry to get into.
Yeah.
And number one is traditional, which is apply and get the job, which is probably the hardest way to get in the industry.
Can we ask how many people have applied for a job in the games industry? Awesome. All right. And this is like how many people have sent 5 applications? How about 10? 20? I'm trying to paint a picture here because it's a really weird time in the games industry right now, and I just want to be honest about that. But
I applied for 10 years before I got into the game industry. So.
Yeah, I started at Unity in 2019, and then I was indie since 2010. So it took me 9 years as well.
Yeah. Which actually leads to this next part, which is non-traditional ways to get into the game industry. Me personally, just a little story on how I got in. I was making machinima videos in a game called Star Wars Galaxies, which if you don't know what machinima is, it's making videos filmed in a video game engine. And I was doing dance videos, and I made this video called Fet's Vet, and it got really popular.
Nice.
And when I applied at BioWare, the founders of BioWare Austin were old Sony execs that worked on Galaxies, and they knew who I was. And I got hired right when I walked in the door. So it was a weird way to get in. And I've heard stories like this before where people get in just in non-traditional ways, which, you know.
I want to point that out, though, because machinima was a really big deal back in the day. Were you actually like on machinima.com? And
I was. In fact, I started machinima before YouTube existed, which really dates me, so sorry about that. I was like 4 years before YouTube when I started doing it, and it was like 10 Ton Hammer and machinima.com. And
that's cool. Yeah.
All those websites wherever we hosted them at the time and stuff. And
yeah.
But it was big, you know. The video got millions of views and like was this dumbest thing ever. It was a dance video, you know, to a nerdcore rap.
That's awesome.
It's weird, but you know, like it paid off in the end. And when I applied, they were like, "We want a video editor." My first job was a video editor, and they were like, "Hey, you know how to do videos?" And I'm like, "Yeah, kinda. I know how to use music videos, you know, like and stuff." And so, you know, I got my first full-time job just from doing that, which is definitely non-traditional. So
yeah, and I think I'm worth pausing on here because like right now there's different. Machinima is not around anymore, but a lot of people live stream. A lot of people like show at festivals like MAGFest, and I think it's really worth thinking about like you right now in this crowd. What are you really into? What communities are you a part of? Are you doing live streams? Are you doing? I don't know anything that's cool. I'm not on social media. I don't keep up with it. But like the current trend or like things that are not in games really help you out. Like my non-traditional way is actually I try to go to engineering school because I thought that would get me into video games. It doesn't. Not all the way. Not all the time. And I really like TED Talks like back in 2010. So my sister and I started a TED Talks for Filipinos called Next Day Better. And that kind of gave me my like networking skill / I know how to run events and I know how to like find other creatives. And then that got me into like game jam groups. So if you're going through the guidebook, you'll see some other game jam / first game talks. And they're all people from like Richmond, Virginia, North Carolina, up and down the East Coast. And I got into that. And it was because of not video games. It was because I just wanted to be part of a community and I wanted to like throw events. So if you like get people together for D&D or maybe like, you know, run a local meetup in your community, that's like a way to get into the games industry. Because sometimes like it's your first job won't be development straight up. If you want to get into development, there's so many more jobs in the industry that need people to run those events, run social media, do trailers, right? If you're a musician, if you're good with your hands, like I know it was really controversial, like Mass Effect released like a collector's edition and it didn't go well. Like people need product specialists and people who are good with like design. So these non-traditional ways are really important.
Yeah. I mean, some people I know have gotten in through like modding.
Yeah.
Doing maps. I mean, like people that want to do into the world building and stuff like that, they'll make maps and games. And if they get popular sometimes, I mean, like the Portal team was all, you know, just fans that made the game and they hired them. Valve hired them. So like, I mean, it's definitely, there is other non-traditional ways to get into the game industry.
Yeah, and really lean into that. Like, if it's not game related, it doesn't mean, and not even just games. Like, if it's another industry, just lean into it, and your strengths will eventually bubble up in your career. So,
which this actually leads to the next one, which is networking, which we were just talking about.
Yeah, networking is real. Like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't just message Brian randomly. Like
he linked in me and was like, "Hey, I don't know you basically, but hey, you're doing a panel? Can we talk?"
Yeah, I love talking about just like starting out because we both have been in your shoes and like also I wouldn't be here if is Christina in the room Rawls, could you open? So the person in the back, like raising her hand, like if she did not say hi to me is she out the door? Like if Rawls didn't just reach out to me and ask like, hey, I'm at MAGFest, I want to do. There she is. Hi. We're talking about networking, Rawls, and like how that's important. And like if you just find someone who you're really curious in, or they're doing cool stuff, don't hesitate. I know there's a lot of like social anxiety and like the soft skills and maybe like things you're not comfortable with, but I know a lot of people here are comfortable with the things they're really interested in. So like I really encourage networking because you just never know who you run into, and even if they're not games related, it just gets you to that next point. So
you'd be surprised how talkative game devs can be too. Like you think that they're all going to be like intimidating or like not wanting to talk to you, but like you go to a meetup, like we had a meetup last night, and there was an indie dev meetup, and like honestly, people will talk to you even if you're awkward and weird. You know, to them, people are just they just want to chat and they just want to hang out and talk to people that they know get what they're doing. You know.
Yeah, and then also it's like not even just the. When people say networking with a capital N, it's like the expectation, like, hey, what's up? What are you working on? Like, this is my company, blah, blah, blah. We're all humans, and we're all innately curious, and we all just want to be with other people. So even just like, I think I ran into someone at the mixer yesterday, and they had like a One Piece pin. Actually, it was you.
It was me.
Yeah, you had your Straw Hat pin. And I was like, I love One Piece. Like, I play the card game. It's sweet. Like, don't be afraid to just let down your defenses a little bit. And if you see something that is not game related on a person and you're innately curious, like, I think that's part of networking. And that spawns to like lifelong friendships. Like, no pressure. You don't have to be my friend forever, but like
we'll see how the panel goes.
Yeah, we'll see how the panel goes. But like I've made friends from my first game jams and from my first MAGFest, and then they ended up going to my wedding like 10 years later, or like they ended up working with me on events that I threw. So you just never know. And someone in this crowd might be that person for you.
This industry is small.
It's very small.
It's very small. I cannot tell you a single studio I've worked at that I didn't have somebody I worked at a different studio from.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the bigger games where there was like 500 staff, like those people are everywhere. Like, I would be like, oh, hey, I know you, don't I? And they're like, yeah, we worked together back, like 10 years ago.
How about connections like within industry? So from video games to have you run into people who are not in video games and then they knew people in
somebody who's gone between video games and like I worked out in Hollywood and was doing like the post work and then Rooster Teeth and stuff like that. There's people that literally left games, went into like, especially animators that I would see working on like Ruby, that were from the game industry, and then also I saw them go back into the game industry. The industries all cross over, especially the media industries, like any type of like a creative industry, like that they share a pool of work. It's like all the people are just shared between all of them. So
maybe takeaways for this is like find your local meetups for game development meetups. Find your local meetups for companies. Don't be afraid to reach out to a company, because a company might want to do those types of meetups for the public, but they don't have the time. So for instance, like I work at Unity, but I also live like 20 minutes from Epic, and all of their user groups are actually community driven. And the one in Cary, they just want someone to take ownership of it, and then they give them free swag, and they like will pay for drinks. We also do the same at Unity. We have a user group program, and like a lot of the other companies do that. So it's really important to like reach out and just like see what's possible. And then also like on the note of, I had like a connection at Valve through a Magic the Gathering play group, and we wanted to stream our videos on the Steam store, and it was a matter of just reaching out to my Magic the Gathering play group and like, hey, I know some of y'all are at Valve, can someone link me up? And that's just another like point. And I got the connection, and maybe we'll get a video shown on the store like during Steam Next Fest. So like you just never know. It's a running theme. I think I've said that like 20 times already.
Well, and there's like, I mean, there's so many different types of groups. Like I'm part of an indie dev group in Baltimore. And there's like an IGDA, which is like the more professional, organization. Honestly, you could search for them. I hate to say this because you're going to have to do it on Facebook probably. But most of these events are listed on Facebook. You could just search for anything like, say, indie devs in the area you're in kind of thing.
Actually, who here is on the East Coast? Cool. How many people from Maryland? Nice. For Maryland, big, so Baltimore Indie Games or IGDA DC. Can I hear what states? Can I hear what states people are from? Just yeah. Pennsylvania. So there's Connecticut. So awesome. New York. So DMV/Connecticut. There's a Playthrough. There's a Gumbo. There is a Swamp Goblins, I think, is the name of a group in DC. I see you. Yeah. I'm just naming. I hear I don't know much about Philly, but Pittsburgh has a really big media. Someone's excitedly. I'm from Philly, Philadelphia Game Mechanics is where I'm from. Thank you. There we go. Philadelphia Game. And this is it. This is just say where know where you're from, and then just know your region, and then just and that's the awesome thing about the games industry. It's not just your company. You really want to show up for your region. I'm really proud, even though I'm in North Carolina, I'm proud to be a former New Yorker. There's a New York State government program that enables game development, and that's freaking sweet. And it wouldn't happen if local New Yorkers didn't band together and make these groups, right? And then Virginian, I'm a former Virginian, so I love my RVA Game Jams fam. I was a fresh college graduate here in DC. It shows up in your region, so.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. As far as college and stuff like that, college can definitely help you. It is not always required in the game industry, and I will say
Keon.
Yeah, I've done thousands of interviews. I'm not even joking. Of every different type of position, and it's not always required, but it's more of your skill set, and college could help you build a reel, depending on if you're into art side or not. But you could also do that on your own. And
and I'll counter this for Keon, because I know we have many students in the back from a local high school. So hello, y'all. I'm kind of pointing at y'all, and I'll be the counterbalance to this. I'm not saying full disclosure, I dropped out of college twice. I went to UVA and JMU three times.
Yeah, graduated the fourth time.
But to counterbalance, because ironically, when I got hired at Unity, I got hired to the education team. College is important in the sense that if you really know what you want to do, so if you have a strong passion for game development and you want to do it, you are comfortable with incurring the debt, so there's financial responsibility in making that plan, go to college, because outside of not being in college, you get game dev groups, you have alumni programs, you have the network of other colleges. There are schools that are specifically for game design. North America is propagating with a ton of really strong game design programs that you should, and especially on the East Coast, and especially here in DC, George Mason, George Washington. I see some hands that just flipped up right away. There are really strong schools out there, but I will say that school is not for everyone. But also school is amazing because it's hard to make friends as an adult. It's hard to find those clubs. I see heads nodding right now. It's a balance. So definitely for the high school students out there, and then for everyone listening, just balance the risks and the reward. We can't tell you what to do, but both paths are as valid, but you don't have to have a college degree to get into industry.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it both ways. It's definitely
it's definitely we're proof.
It's not a requirement. It's basically what my point is. It's not required that you have to have a college degree like some other professions where they're oh, you have to have 4 years of college. It's not that way. It's about your skill set. And
I would actually flag a game studio if it was a hard requirement. Because what matters in the end, I don't know about you, is we will spend 8 hours a day with one of y'all, or you will with somebody else. We want to make sure you're a great communicator. We want to make sure that you can collaborate with other teams. We want to make sure that you could tell your story and actually dictate a problem and understand a problem before you solve it. I don't care if you're a godlike programmer or the best video editor or an amazing composer. If you're that, but you cannot communicate to me, I don't want to work with you and I can't hire you, right? So definitely think about how do you write better? How do you communicate better? My next offsite, we're reading, was it Nonviolent Communication, which is a really, really popular book. I see some thumbs up about it. Things like that, and thinking about how to communicate better with fellow human beings is just you are jumping a bunch of people in the curve, because that's like a skill that I see in the industry that's not being.
That actually leads to this next one here.
Wow, it's like we were meant to meet.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Jumping ahead to the third one, which is Just Be You. I can't tell you how many times we've passed up a more qualified applicant just because we thought somebody else would click with the team better. Yeah. And it's just like he was saying, like talking to people and doing like that. I mean, we hired a guy once that, luckily he's not here. We weren't sure he was going to kill us or not. And we actually did a background check on him because we were like, he was ex-military and just had no friends. And
this is the purpose of the first part of the interview.
Yeah.
They want to make sure you're not crazy.
We like this guy. Like we clicked with him, but we were just like, is he gonna kill us? You know, like we want to make sure. So we did a background check and we hired him. And now he's been in the game industry, 13 plus years. He's worked all over the place. He's, a writer. He's doing awesome, and it's really cool to see, and he has friends finally. So
there you go.
Very nice.
And that's an important point too. If you don't have those skills, I feel like the games industry really help. I'm not saying like apply to the games industry because it'll help you with your social skills, but like, we're proof of it. And this is just like a proof of that, like maturity. Mm-hmm. And like once you get into it, you can't help but to be social or like meet with other people. So
yeah, and going with this, what the first one is make a reel. This is more for like creative side. If you guys are into art, animation, anything like that, I'll tell you one thing: we don't ever look at applicants that don't have reels. It's literally you're off the table right away. Yeah. Like if you don't have a reel, a website does help. Usually, at least places to put the reel, because we just want the easiest way to look at it real quick. Yeah. A reel is very important, and what you need to cater the reel to is what you're planning to do.
Yes.
If you're going to do an animator, you want to show that you can make 6-second looping animations. Not like a whole movie. You don't need to give them a whole movie. They're not going to watch it. Trust me, if it's long. They want to see that you can make a person run, make a person sit down, make a person wave. It's basic stuff like that. And any type of reel you're doing, you want to cater to what exactly you are applying for.
Yeah.
As someone who's taken videography courses and made a video demo reel, stuff that I've recorded, what would a non-recorded demo reel? Because I guess like as someone who's like an artist or something.
Yeah.
That's something I've been curious about. Not that I am an artist, I'm sure.
Let me think.
And I have some thoughts about it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, can you say the question one more time so I can restate it? Yeah. Oh, I'm hearing the question so I can restate it. Yeah.
So, like, what would a non-recorded demo? Like,
cool. So,
more like still work.
Yeah. So the question is, if your portfolio or reel is not recorded like video, and it's non-recorded like say art or programming or design, is that a good question?
Yeah.
Like
Great.
if you were a concept artist or something like that, right?
I want to, and I was about to jump in and segue into that. So anything that's non-recorded, have a website, have your art station, have your itch.io, and then whatever you're doing, like post as much screenshots, and Notion or any sort of like wiki is your best friend. A lot of written work with the sample. And jumping on Brian, like what you're applying for, and especially whenever I do portfolio reviews or I'm hiring someone, and this is especially for students and maybe first timers, like they will show me that they made a thing, but they don't tell me exactly what they're trying to accomplish, and then like what to the role, why as a designer like I should care. So for instance, if I was a game designer and I just showed the game, that doesn't show what you worked on. But for instance, you could be like, my game producer asked me to work on this vertical slice for a roguelike 2D, and the game feel is this. And for this project, I had to hit 3 milestones, which is like build this level, communicate, etc. That's way more specific. So, and then for art, it's like my prompt was this, and this is the aesthetic of the game, and our publisher is looking for this, and then you have like not physically point, but your resume or portfolio or reel should point to exactly what you changed in the project.
Group and organize your stuff. Like if you're applying for like a world concept artist or something like that, I mean, send them all your world concept artist stuff. Yeah. Don't send them all your character art because they don't care about that. You're not applying as a character artist. And you can have it on your website, but just group them. You know, like
and show the work you did, not show the work your team. Because sometimes another pitfall is like they'll show the game that they worked on and they'll take ownership of the whole game. But then a good interviewer will be like, well, can you show me what you did specifically in it? And students and first timers get snagged.
I've actually encountered where we actually saw the same concept art come from two different people that applied. Yeah. Because they both worked on it and both of them tried to take full credit for it. And we're like, okay, that's shady. Yeah. Neither of them got the job. So
this industry is too small. Don't do that.
It's too small. It's too small. It's going to bite you in the ass.
Yeah. We got a question right here.
If I'm like applying as like a designer, like a QA tester or something like that, how important is a portfolio, or do you look at portfolios for things like that?
Yes, 1,000% yes. Yeah. And to amplify the question, for a designer or QA, is a portfolio still as important? 10,000% yes. And it's like for those, and it's the same question, right? Like express your thoughts succinctly and clearly with screenshots, live demos, and just like your thought process. And with QA, so QA is a little different from design, and that's a segue because there's a surprise. There's a second slideshow, and there's resources that I'm going to provide for QA specifically. But with QA, there's specific like things that you have to target, like number of bugs, performance, etc. And for roles like that where you have a number that you're trying to target, it's like music to someone's ears when you're like, I increased frame rate by X by working on this project, and I could show like where I fixed things, or I made a workflow easier by starting a Jira like project, and you could show like your idea through that wiki, right? Like it's as important a portfolio. Yeah.
Jira's an organizing software, by the way, for those that don't know. I'm just
and also, sorry, really great question. Let's save the questions to the end because we still have some stuff that we want to cover. And then, do you want to jump into your resume part?
Yeah. So I don't have a ton on the resume, but the resume,
I do on the second one.
I will tell you that having a long resume will hurt you and not help you. Putting like a 10-page resume will make people just pass on it. Like they do not want something long. I usually try to keep it at 2 pages. Usually, I've been in the industry long enough that I have enough jobs that I want to list that it's 2 pages long. Yeah. But I try to keep it like simple and like try to make sure you cater your resume to the job you're applying to, not just saying, hey, look, I can do all this stuff. Like I started in web design originally, and I was originally trying to get into web design in games. And I was putting that on all my resumes when I was applying for video editor positions. And they don't care about that. They're like, I don't care that you can do web because you're not going to do it. Like that's not what the job you're applying for. And so I was just wasting space on my resume. Yeah. And I just made separate resumes for each position I was applying for, which I highly recommend you do.
Yeah. I'll have more resources in the next slide deck. But for the crowd, has anyone seen that meme? I forgot the actress, but she's like looking like intently in the camera. And the meme always goes like, seconds before the HR lady has a bad day and she throws your resume in the trash. I see. Has anyone seen that Anne Hathaway meme about like, it's kind of, I hate to say it, but like sometimes like resumes pass us so fast, and some people are Anne Hathaways and they're just having a bad day, and but the ones that like will really stick out to us is the highly focused, work with a portfolio writer or try to help, a resume writer or someone experienced in it, and try to get those keywords highly focused. Like
which college could help with that too.
Yeah, college. Yeah, and that's a plus in college. Like they have those resources, and then if you're not in college, go to your local community college, go to your local like workforce like development agency, and they help out with that. And like that is like an unfortunate truth, but also for the people super focused, like the more focus and the more we see that you are trying to hit to your job title, the better for us. So
Don't feel afraid to ask people in your like local like gaming
Yeah,
group
that's
either to like
Yeah.
look at your resume and give you feedback. Is
Yeah.
there's gonna be people that have been in the industry a long time and they don't like they're gonna help you out. Trust me.
Yeah.
Like the local indie groups, the IGDA, they'll look at it for you. I'm sure.
For sure. What's the next slide?
Next slide is just
Oh,
my social info.
Nice.
So
Yeah, it's not over yet. You can clap
have
now
one
if
more.
you want. Yeah, we have one. You want to clap? Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah, and everybody does know me as Captain Krabs at MAG, so that's why you'll see a lot of crab stuff on here.
Yeah. And then I have no social media because I like to stay mentally sound.
You're lucky.
But if you come up, my name is Kurt. Man, this is hard. This is why it's better to get on the guidebook. If you come see me, come say hi. Don't leave yet. It's not over. There's one more thing. But yeah, if you want to go to the next
Pull
one.
up the other one.
So the reason why I really wanted to get on this panel was because at Unity, this is my job. Like I talk to a lot of people to teach them about the engine, but if you want to scan this friendly, not yet, yeah. So we'll leave the QR code for just a moment. Like everyone, go ahead and scan this because also I was saying this at the mixer. If you scan this, I get to sponsor MAGFest more. So if everyone can scan this QR code, I would just love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So as you're scanning it, Unity Elevate, not a lot of people know this. We have a program that's agnostic to the engine, and we just want to support people like you in this room to get your first industry job or get your first foot into industry. And there's a lovely woman at Unity. Her name is Joy Horvath. She's a one-person team working on this, and she made job profiles for y'all. So you asked the question earlier about, for QA, is this important for my portfolio? And did everyone scan the QR? We'll leave it for, yeah. I'll give it like 30 more seconds. Yeah. I'll give it more 30 seconds. And this is a very helpful takeaway tool. And I was joking, and then I was like, wait a minute, this is a great idea. You could take some of the stuff that I'm showing you, take it to a game jam, pick 2 things from the things I'm about to show you, and you just like netted something under your belt for VR developer, junior developer, AR developer, and QA. So I'll give y'all, I see some more people like taking, nice. Thanks for getting me on the.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it. Okay.
The more information we can get out, the better.
Yeah.
So
Because getting a job in industry is hard.
it is. It's a lot easier to keep a job in the industry than it is
Yeah.
to get the first one, which is hard. I will tell everybody right off the bat: do not burn bridges in this industry. You will regret it.
Yeah.
You will be out of the industry so fast.
Okay. I'm going to put this up after I go through this, but thank you all for. Okay. So Elevate. So this is like kind of our ecosystem at Unity. We have some job seekers, and what we do is like we really focus on real-time 3D stuff because that's just what Unity does. But I'm even going to shout out my competitors. Epic does it. Godot does it. All these engines do it. And in our space, the more people making stuff, the better. But the thing is, like, we want to support this group, the job seekers, because like y'all are not in a good space in the gaming industry right now. It's hard to get in. Educators. So how many teachers are in here? Is it just? Oh, sweet. We have educators. Hi. So teachers, I run the Unity educator server. So we support 3,000 teachers worldwide, like teaching secondary, post-secondary, nonprofit. And like those people need the resources because y'all are servicing the students. So for the teachers, thank you for everything that you do. You don't make enough money and there's not enough time in the world. So I want to say that. Woo! And then employers. Anybody in here hiring? Anyone? We got one person. Everyone's gonna rush to this guy afterwards. Oh, not games, but if you need a job. And with employers, what we're trying to do is like unify. Like, who hates it when raise a hand? I'm looking at a junior job. You need 5 years, and you need all these tools. Who hates that listing? Everyone should be raising their hand. It's unfair. It's stupid, right? So what we're trying to do with Elevate is we're trying to fix that problem because this is the ideal cycle right now, like, or this is how it is, like, or Sorry. This is how it should be working. Job seekers should be easily finding employers. Employers should be clear about what they're looking for, and then the educators are like piping that information. But the reality is that there's no bridge, right? Everyone is, and especially from job seekers to employers. Like I was on a White House panel a few years ago, and I was sitting with like Pixar, I was sitting with Riot, I was sitting with all these people, and the stuff they were telling me about what they expect out of juniors is ridiculous. So, and I'm getting a lot of, so like, it's true. The solution is to like make it easier for y'all. I'm not gonna like, so Elevate, what you just scanned, there's 4 PDFs in the middle of that page. It's like 25 to 30 pages. We'll go on the web, is that okay to go on the website?
I think we can.
Sweet. You can go through those resources. They're industry vetted resources that Joy put together. On the QA profile, it'll show all our partners. So it's very VR, AR centric right now because that's how the industry is. And I'll get to that in a second because there's a hot tip for that. It talks about your responsibilities, checklists on like your everyday tasks. There's salary data, which we update twice a year. And there's a change log in the end of every profile. So they're upkept by Unity. And it's just a way that we get you the most up-to-date resources, because if you're doing the whole like Craigslist / up to Indeed / to recruiters and you keep running into those listings, you want to have the radar. You want to be sure that you're looking for good companies to get hired to. So these are the profiles that are on the website. Oh, and then this is just like a overall like list of what is in the profile. And then here, can we go to the website real quick and then. Awesome.
All right.
So this is the Elevate landing page. So the QR code leads to this. And then I'm going to go to the newest one. And then for the person here in the crowd looking at QA tester. So we'll go see the profile. It's a handy dandy PDF. We have like your responsibilities, your skills, your pay range. They need to pay QA more. They need to pay QA more.
A lot more.
A lot more. And then hot linked pages. And I'm going to go to, here it is. Skills required. Definitely look at these. Some are soft skills. And this goes back to what we were talking about. Like soft skills are being lost in the 2000s and beyond. Like it's not just a career problem. It's just a societal problem. Because we are externalized on social media, we don't get to talk to each other. So there's a bullet list vetted by industry professionals where they're like, we don't get a lot of really good emails from our juniors, or like they don't like tell us certain things. So there's checklists like that, tools, so you'll get to know like the software. I'm trying to find collaboration. There's so yeah. Oh well, there's a checklist that I'm trying to find. Where is it? Here it is. This is also in. Oh wait. Dang it.
There's a lot of checklists.
There's a lot of sample resumes. So use this as a. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. And what I was trying to find was like there's a checklist of skills. And my suggestion is if you're trying to be a VR or junior programmer, take the bullet points from these like lists, take it to a game jam, or like when you work on your next game. Try to practice 2 of these bullet points. It'll help you towards your job search, right? And then at the end, it has everything. Here, there we go. So this is, like I said, an agnostic partnership that we're working with the games industry. This is our partners right now. Niantic is like our flagship partner, and we just got in Mega Crush and Blackbird. They're based in the UK, and they're largely working on VR. So this is where the hot tip happens. And I don't know if you would. I'd like to hear your opinion. So we're here, and the panel is about get your first job in the games industry. Right now, it's really hard to get in because of a lot of factors. But at Unity, what we're seeing is that there are non-gaming applications to real-time 3D tools and QA skills, design skills, film skills that go to non-gaming industries, particularly automotive, architecture, and those types of like fields, and they hire more readily, and it's a place that is not being like looked to from students or educators. So I really want to encourage y'all to look at maybe a Siemens or a GM or a BMW or your local architectural firm. Because if you're not getting hits from Riot or a studio for like your 3D art, you could easily go to one of those places and show off your work there, and they're likely hiring for development skills or like film. Like people are trying to do marketing.
Film is a whole industry. I could do a whole panel on just film alone, to be honest. But it's not a hard industry to get into. It is a hard industry to get a full-time job in.
Yeah, yeah. But like, I mean, there are still industries outside of games that are doing a little bit better, and the skills transfer. And if you're still focused on that game job, your first step might be a non-game job, but it leads up to your games. Like for me, my first jobs was startup world, engineering, and being a barista in New York City, right? So like
I made dance videos in Star Wars Galaxies, so
yeah,
you know, like it's kind of weird. And I was doing web design at the time, so I was a web designer.
So that is that's another. If you take away anything aside from this, like look for non-industry jobs and think about if you're a designer, a gameplay programmer, QA tester, how does that apply to somewhere like architecture or an industry that interests you? I'm not saying go work for a car company or architecture. Like be creative with it. We'll answer questions in just a little bit. Yeah. Sorry. And then the last thing is this at the end, the changelog. This is the initial release. We will be upkeeping this. So, and then I'm going to move it back to dude, I love your mouse. It has
it's pretty nice. Right?
Cool. And then this is the QR code. I'll leave it up here. Please scan it. And you ready for Q&A?
Yeah, we can do Q&A.
And that's the talk. That's the code. Yeah. All right. We're going to do Q&A. This tech, do we give a microphone to people, or is someone back there that can, or?
We can just have them yell.
Okay. Here, I saw your hand go first, so.
Cool. I'll try to be super loud if I can.
I'll repeat the question for you. Yeah.
The first question that I kind of have is around your statements of resumes.
Yeah.
And I've got like a kind of couple bullet points that I've marked on it. One of them is that you mentioned that juniors have more that are expected than you think is reasonable or whatever. I would love to hear an expansion on that. But also, like, my main question is, for me, I'm going from a different industry into the game industry, which means that most of my resume is relatively, like, irrelevant.
Okay.
I'm curious if, like, how much of it you would recommend to cut, and how much recent work that may be irrelevant I should cut and focus on, like, maybe something I did, like, 10 years ago.
Sure.
Example. And then further, one more thing to add into there is how much do you think game jam type activities?
Ooh, we were just talking about this. So just to repeat the question, and you can chime in if I got it wrong. So the first question is a clarification on when we talked about juniors in the resume section, what we meant about they expect so much more out of like juniors and like what that means. Your second question is, I'm coming from an industry outside of games and I have to pivot. What do I keep in my resume? And then what was the third part?
How much of game jams?
Game jams. Thank you. How are game jams applicable? Do you mind if I, because it's three parts, so we'll go really succinct. First one, to clarify, they expect so much out of juniors, because I'm going to be really honest here, and I don't care if like you, people take advantage of juniors because they're cheaper labor, and they want to be just like, so they ask for those like hard skills just to get like people down and running, wheels on the ground, and like pumping out stuff like in whatever tool it is. So that's why they ask for so much, 5 years of experience or like so many pieces of software or et cetera. That's what I mean about like the expectation on juniors. The second part, we can't tell you to do that. The best advice that at least I can, and you can chime in here, is define the role that you're trying to pivot to. Find maybe 4 or 5 people that you could reach out to in that role, and then think with that person the top 2 or 3 things that you're going to deliver to the hiring manager that you're applying to, and then from there scale your resume down so that it focuses on those points. And then the third part about game jams, game jam stuff is great, but you never solve a design problem in game jams. So never stop at a game jam if you're going to add it to your portfolio. If you add your game jam game to a portfolio, it's good if you have the blog post or like thoughts and like you're working through the ideas. But game jam games don't solve a design problem, and you're not really producing a game. So be mindful when you put your game jam games on portfolios, because they need to be fleshed out, or you should be able to talk in depth about what you did. And then
I guess it probably depends too, depending on what you actually did on the game jam.
Yeah. So like also be like mindful of like what you did at the game jam and own it. So really, advertise that. Great question. All right. Next question right here.
Yeah. Wait. So to Brian. So I
All
saw
right.
that you worked on Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Yep.
Did you work on the Hover cinematic trailers?
I did. I was on the game for 4 years. I shipped the game. I did feedback on the CG trailers, but Blur Studios did the work on it, so I only got to do feedback on that. But I did do all the in-game cinematics for each class. So when you start the class, you see the text scroll and stuff like that. That's still in the game. So, and working with LucasArts, I don't recommend it. So just.
And then wait, for Kirk. So
Yeah.
I'm in the DMV area, like something metro accessible ideal.
Yeah.
Do you know like any kind of like game dev opportunities for and such?
I can't really quote. Here, the biggest studio is Bethesda, but I never want to quote like the company that's the biggest in town. The best thing I could say is like, one quote that I really live by is like, we're not trees, like we're not rooted to where we are. That's a very like, also just to acknowledge my privilege, that is a very privileged thing to say. But the truth is like, try to start from where you are and then just like open up your radius to how comfortable you are, and like just find the people that will do remote work. If a company says you have to go to office, challenge them or ask for more money. And like remote work is possible. So like I would say like take a radius from that and try to go for remote work.
And
so.
don't be afraid to ask for more money. Trust me.
Yes.
Like I've never once seen anyone get fired for that.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Sorry, I have to go like backwards. So these are here. What's up?
I wanted to ask, there was a lot of very good information for developers and testers, but I wanted to ask about being a writer in the video game
Ooh,
industry,
great question.
or a narrative designer, because I'm very much interested in it, and I've talked with Matt Burns at Blizzard
Uh-huh.
and tried to have other conversations, but it seems that there aren't that many open roles, or
Yeah.
a lot of those that are open for writing, world building, creativity, they often demand that you already be in the video game industry.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of contract work too.
Yeah.
They'll contract that work out a lot of times.
Yeah, and I will say for that, and we spoke about it before this panel. Your jumping off point before narrative design is probably game designer or like somewhere in the gameplay space. There are narrative design jobs, but like formally for the job search, they are more competitive and they're not as plentiful. But working on your own work on the side is going to be really important. Also, I don't know the name of the talk, but there is a narrative design talk in the track for MAGFest. So I try to find that. But yeah, look to like tune yourself to game design / in the gameplay space. And then with your narrative work, keep working on that on the side, or try to incorporate that in your collaborations with people.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I've hired writers before. We
Yeah.
even had a writer on our video team at one point, and he was just basically doing everything we had to describe the video. Like he'd write up, or he'd come up with ideas for videos and write them up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is writing positions, but yeah, you're right. There's not a lot on each studio usually.
Yeah.
MMOs obviously would have a lot more.
practice writing copy. Like don't be afraid to be a copywriter. And then try to apply your narrative design to stuff outside of games too. So like try to help local company like sell their stuff, and then apply that narrative to that. Like be really good about like telling someone's story. Like that's important. All right, next I'm gonna point the person with the mask in the middle.
Hi.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what, so let's say, not hypothetical. My background is in school and in indie games, creative director, not the person producing any concept art, not the person directly producing the code, but the person aligning everyone to the same creative vision.
Cool.
Making adjustments on those things. How would a resume or a portfolio look on that track? Is that something that
Yeah.
is really limited to the indie space, or
No.
No.
We've had creative directors at every studio I've ever been at.
Yeah.
We still, I mean, even the studio I'm at, the Big Huge Games right now, and we're not a huge studio. We're like about 60-something people. We have a creative director. So it's definitely a position. There's usually one and not more than one at each studio. So the competition is probably pretty hard.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie about that.
And then the other thing with creative director, if you're looking for, say, how you pitch yourself.
Yeah, what would the portfolio
Yeah.
look like when because if two people are taking credit for the concept art, I mean, I didn't make that concept art.
Right.
I'm playing that in mind.
Well, as a creative, I actually don't think that's even related to being a creative director. A creative director is you're working with leadership team to ship games. And I'm going to repeat that. With any director, you're working with that particular team to ship a game, and then you're focused on directing that domain space. So what I care about with a creative director, and my background is like an indie, so I've had to pitch before, and I've had to like pitch my team. So like your history of games, your leadership style, your hiring practices / like that history, like the time it took to ship games, being able to tell the story of your team. So like, you know, with all those creatives, with your artists, your writers, etc. Like how do you tell that through a resume, right? And it is through just like time took to ship the game, like how many people you led. Man, there's so many. And
you're going to probably want to put a lot of this on your portfolio, like on a website, and do like projects, and then on each project list, here's what I did on this project, here's how I shipped this game.
Yeah, I worked with this, you know, this like this team of leadership, and like this is like how I led this team in X amount of time. There's more. Like we're just kind of like umbrella.
Touching the surface of it.
Yeah. Person in the orange hat.
Yeah, hi. So I am currently obviously searching for a job.
Yeah.
There are like 3 skill sets that I have developed to the point where I feel I'm able to market them.
Sure.
Would it be better for me to pick a lane or cast that wider net?
Can I take the?
Yeah, go for it. You can have one.
Time is finite, and you're probably strongest at one of them. So with that in mind, like life is too short, like, and then we have a 10-minute left warning. Like pick your strongest suit. Generalists are cool. Like it sounds cool to be a generalist, but in the end time with your time and being wise with it, like definitely lean into your strongest strength and then advertise there, and then use the other 2 skills as things that complement that strong suit. So, you know, yeah, like I would say that. And then if you had any.
I don't know anything to add to that.
Nice, yeah, because life's too short, man. I'm going to go the person all the way in the back right corner. That's you. Yeah, the one that just turned around. Yes, you.
Can you talk a little bit about the future of the industry? It looks like
Dang, what a pressure question.
We've definitely hit a ceiling for sure. Like
There
the
you go,
industry
first,
has hit a ceiling.
We are not the industry, by the way, just a
Yeah.
disclaimer. But we can talk about the future. Yeah.
I mean, the game industry is still a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. It still prints money, so it's not going anywhere for sure. It's definitely hit a lull in certain types of the industry, like even MMOs in general, which I've been in a lot of. MMOs are suffering, and they're having to go to free-to-play and stuff like that to change the model. The industry is changing for sure.
Yeah.
It's evolving, but it's not going anywhere. So there's too many gamers. I mean, this convention is a good example of that right there. But
yeah, and then to answer, like, did everyone watch the Game Awards this past year? Yeah. Remember that awesome speech by like the person who presented before Game Awards? So the person in the back, like, watch that speech, listen to it, and then like take it to heart, because after Astrobot won, I think that's the name of the game. It was posted on LinkedIn by a few people. It caught a ton of engagement from people like me and Brian. Mm-hmm. And the future of game development is like not taking advantage of your players, not having to ship games. I mean, you have to. Crunch is going to happen, but not crunching all the time, and like being within budget and time. Like that is the future of the industry that I want to see. And then also, like with Brian, you're talking about like business models. Mm-hmm. I think this is the time where the business models have to adjust with those working environments. So Free to play is happening. A lot of indies are coming up. Like Balatro won Game of the Year. Let me say it. Balatro won Game of the Year. It's still possible for us to like make it from our end. So like, and that's just the players saying, I want to vote with my dollar for a good experience, and I don't care that you put so much money into this game. So I think the future is bright. The current is dark, but we have to be honest about our current state to get to a brighter future.
Yeah,
Whoa,
AAA is going to change.
Yeah,
It definitely
AAA
has to change.
Yeah.
And it is changing. It's just taking a while. It's, you know.
Yeah. You have been patiently waiting. Thank you.
Going back to QA, I have a bad habit of breaking games when I play them to the point it's actually kind of a running joke among my friends.
Sure. Okay.
And like doing my own indie stuff, I tend to find a lot of bugs that I have to rat out. Is there a way to like possibly like parlay that into a larger, like more official
Sure.
position?
The question is, I'm a QA person. I break my friends' games too much, and I'm trying to parlay that into a sellable point. So the focus then is, what games have you worked on? Focus on what bugs they were most focused on fixing, and then the processes and software and efficiencies that you like.
Your solution.
Yeah, your solution. So you need to focus on the games, the one deliverable that they cared about the most, even though you broke everything, and then what tools and things that you use.
And this stuff is really, if you get an interview, this stuff is the stuff you're gonna want. They're gonna ask.
Yeah, they're gonna ask like, oh, you use this tool. Like, how do you use it when you're?
Give us a solution of how you fix this game.
Yeah,
or
which
fix this
and that.
Troubleshooting for game.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so here's what's happening. Let me figure out what's going on.
Yeah, so be very versed in game maker tools, the workflows, and then just be really precise about like how you solve problems. That would be the best way. There is the person. Yes, glasses. Yes, yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is a little bit of a. I've tried to think of how to shorten this as much as I can. So
Sure.
I'll be quick. I went to a video game college, Drexel University. I graduated there less than half a year ago.
sure.
And I went in with as much hope that I could actually be in the games industry. I left with all of my creative spirit crushed.
Yeah.
My college was a microcosm of the AAA industry. And
No.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's what you can imagine.
Yeah.
And the worst part is, I still kind of care about it because I know that I wouldn't be where I am without Drexel.
Yeah.
But I also know that my program lead is a stubborn motherfucker that will never.
Yeah. Okay.
How can I get him to actually see that what he's trying to pigeonhole students into being,
Yeah.
he wants us all to be Unity-ready generalists,
Yeah.
is the worst outcome.
Oh, that's the worst advice. Yeah. So I'm sorry that you're going through that. Don't try to change that person's view. Focus on, you said your spirit was crushed. Focus on what really makes you happy and like what, 5 minutes left. Focus about what makes you happy and then build communities around helping people to see your perspective. Use Drexel as a tool. Like college is a means to an end. So see it for what it is. And then for what it's worth, like whatever you want to accomplish in games and you want to take people with you, build that space around you. Because that person at Drexel, they're in a position of power where you just can't stop it. That's a fight that's not worth fighting. So I would say like just focus on like what you're trying to accomplish and build community around that.
Yeah, because I trusted him a lot, but
Yeah.
I don't really care about him as much as I care about what he gave me.
I heard you. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. You've been also waiting patiently. Hello. Yes. And I'll go to the person behind you. Yes, in the mask. And then I'll go to the person behind you. Yeah.
A bunch about the creative tracks, but what about somebody looking to get into production?
Oh, that's a great question.
Well, production. I mean, there's a lot of different aspects of production. Is there something specific in production you're
Yeah.
looking for? Technical producer. A lot of people that go into producing in general start in QA. I'll be honest. I don't know why. I think it's because they can learn about the game, and then they also find out what different producing positions they can get into, and then they work their way up to it. I'm not saying you should start in QA, but it is a way a lot of people get into the industry. And then let me think.
What is a good technical producer for you? How does it solve your? I have some areas, but then
That's a good question. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't work with technical producers very often, so I'm trying to think if like when is the last? My current studio does not have one, so.
I will say I've worked with like a couple of technical producers, and I'm familiar with the role. Logistics. How do you tie your tech together on a technical team, and how do you support your developers to attain like the important APIs, the important like tool sets, and then you're like the middle person between your technical leadership and then your developers. So I guess like examples of your work in the past that does that well, and then focus on like your deliverables and like timelines, like burn chart go down really fast and then the tools and like money and logistics that like talk about that process, and that's like your tech producer in a very, very 50,000 foot bubble. Like, yeah. And if there's any technical producers that could answer that in the crowd, I would really appreciate that, because I'm also not, I haven't worked with a lot. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So the man in the green shirt, thank you for being patient.
So I'm an educator, so I understand your diagram.
Thank you for all your hard work.
In the middle where
Yeah.
we never get up-to-date information and how to prepare our students to enter the industry.
Sure.
So if I were to go like in and talk to people, who do I talk to? Like personally, I teach audio production. Like who do I talk to in the game, in the companies to find out what people need?
Awesome. So the question is, if I'm an educator, who do I talk to at companies to enable my students? Is that a good? Yeah. So you mentioned you teach audio. I would look look in your region. That's a more manageable thing. Look at the studios. Reach out to like creative directors. Reach out to hiring, like the hiring managers are the people you want to talk to. And also I would go to like communities, like maybe like people who like meet up for I don't know the musician community as well, but you want to talk to the people in like positions that are hiring students and get to know like what are they looking for, and then bubble that up, make like a matrix sheet about like what you can teach. And then you want to like also get resources from like what tools do students use, right? Go to those they usually have an advocate and evangelist, and they want to talk to you about those tools. So mixing that data with like careers in your area, like will get you a good starting point for supporting your students. Like for me, like teachers come to me because they're teaching game development, and then I reach out to studios that I know in their area, and that's usually the workflow for that. So
you can do what Kirk did too, and just reach out to people on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
honestly,
randomly. Yeah.
Find somebody who's an audio engineer or something, and they could at least get you in the right direction.
Yeah. We just got the time is up sign. If there's any questions, me and Brian will be outside answering questions. But thank you so much for coming to the talk. We really appreciate it. Huh?